Well, hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, whatever time it is for you in your time zone. Good evening, hello, my lovelies, my beautiful soul family. Surprise, surprise. I hardly ever come on at this late night hour. Well, it's not that late here in the West Coast. It's going to be 9 p.m. soon. Here in the West Coast, it's midnight, close to midnight in the East Coast. And usually I never come on live anymore unless it's for Tarot Tuesday. But as I get ready to conclude my day and start to get ready to call it a night, I was been processing some thoughts or some downloads that I was receiving today and even throughout the evening. And I said to myself, you know what, let me go live for a little bit, surprise my soul family with an unexpected live, and share with them these thoughts that I'm having in this moment. So surprise, surprise. How are you all doing tonight? Let me see who else logs in, since it's late and this wasn't announced. This is just a surprise visit here on IG. So I'm going to wait for a couple of other soul families to sign in if they happen to see that I'm live. How are you all doing tonight? I first want to know where are you checking in from? What city, what state, what country are you in? Talk to me, my beloved soul family. Where are you all checking in from? What city are you representing? What country are you representing? Where do you live? Miami, Florida, my hometown. I love it. Nati Gonzalez, awesome. Dallas, Texas, I've been there. I love Dallas, Texas. Indiana, haven't been there, but one day I will. Awesome. Another Miamian in the house. Philly, I love Philly. Brooklyn, New York, my old stomping grounds. Chicago, I love too. Been there many times. Miami, Blue Eyes, yes. Yes, Miami. Snowy Crestline. Central Valley, Cali, Ontario, Cali. Okay, Chino, Cali. Okay, St. Pete, Florida. Awesome. Awesomeness. Mexico. Lovely. What part of Mexico? Dreaming with Flor? What part of Mexico? I love Mexico. I've been to many different parts of Mexico for many years. Ontario, California. Awesomeness. Rialto, California. Awesome. You all are checking in from different parts, different cities. This is wonderful. So, I want to briefly speak to you tonight about a couple of downloads that I received. It's not a couple. It's one major download that I received, out of which a lot of different contexts can come out of that particular download. Oaxaca, I love it. Murrieta, Cali, awesome. So this is the thing, beloved soul family. Spirit says that a lot of the issues that we have as human beings, with regard Atlanta, Georgia, awesome. I've been there many times too. I love it. I love Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of the issues that we have in terms of being able to manifest, and what we manifest, what is it that it backfires? Why is it that what we encounter and experience in our life doesn't fulfill us? And in many cases, it ends up hurting us, hurting our feelings, our emotions, or even traumatizing us. It's because we have failed to identify what our prerequisites are. That's why I entitled this live, if you look at the top of your screen, what are your prerequisites? That's the how I have entitled this live, what are your prerequisites? Why do I say this? Because to cut through the chase, Spirit says that we go into experience situations, relationships, romantic relationships, jobs, with not having a clear understanding of what our prerequisites are. In each scenario that you experience in your life, hear me out. Hear me out. I'm not going to be here long, I promise. For every scenario that you experience, for every relationship you get in, whether it's personal, romantic, business, if you fail to have an understanding of what your prerequisites are, you expose yourself to danger, hurt, pain, and failure. Did you hear me? I needed to unpack this quickly tonight. That's why I'm doing this surprise unannounced live, because this message has been ringing in my ear all day long. And I said, you know what, before I call it a night, let me check in with whomever soul family is up and checks in right now. What are your prerequisites? Because Spirit says that many of us fail, encounter issues and conflict in our journey because we do not have clear set prerequisites. We go into relationships, we encounter experiences without a clear understanding of what our prerequisites are. And as long as you don't have a clear understanding of what your prerequisites are, you will put yourself in a position to be hurt, traumatized, challenged, used, abused, lied to, cheated on, replaced. So therefore, it is Spirit's advice. I'm going to make this quickly. It is Spirit's advice that you sit in with yourself and you do what could be considered a self-inventory, right? See, I don't want to get too deep, because if I get deep, then we're going to be here an hour. Self-inventory. If you do a self-inventory, then this gives you the opportunity to understand one major and fundamental tool towards defining that prerequisite, and that is your self-worth, your value. What are you worth? How can I know what I am worth when I don't even understand or haven't even thought about what my prerequisites are? What are my prerequisites? What is the definition, the textbook, dictionary definition of prerequisite? Well, you know that is a word mainly used in college, right? University, college, or what have you. But a prerequisite, it is a thing that is, if I recall correctly from the dictionary, it's defined as a thing that is necessary or required prior, okay, a thing or thing or something that is required prior to something else going down, basically. Okay, that's the gist of the definition of a prerequisites, right? Something that is required prior or a prior condition before something else goes down, before something else happens, before something else takes place. Taking it into our human experience, many of you don't have prerequisites before jumping into relationships. Many of you don't have prerequisites when you are allowing people into your life. Many of you don't have a prerequisite before you open your heart to someone that you hardly even know. Some of you are great and quick at, going to that dating site. Some of you are quick at, if we're talking about Lukumi or Richa tradition and different ATRs, African traditional religious faith, you go into spiritual and religious houses with no prerequisites. You meet somebody at a club or at a bar or at a gathering, at a party, with no prerequisites. You allow yourself to be in what do you call that? A blind date, because your friend set you up with somebody that she or he thought would be good for you. But you don't have a clear understanding of what your prerequisites are. And as long as I will repeat myself, as long as we don't have a clear understanding of what our prerequisites are, we expose ourselves to danger, hurt, pain, loss, abuse, trauma. And the other part to this is, if you don't have a prerequisite before getting into something, before allowing someone in your life, before allowing someone into your life, then you put yourself at risk of being defined by everyone else and not by God or Spirit, the divine universe. When you understand what your prerequisites are, then you have a clear understanding of your value. That's one value is also very important in this conversation. Because what you believe you are worth, listen to what I'm about to lay in your heart. What you believe you are worth determines the prerequisites that are needed in order for me to come into your life. Did you hear me? Did you hear that? When you understand what your value is, what you are worth, then it is easy for you to set a foundation with clear and set rules for your boundaries, for your limitations, before you let someone into your life. So, for example, let's break this down quickly. If we're speaking about romance, you meet someone today and you like this person, and this person, seems to like you and what have you. You're all that butterflies in the stomach, as we used to say, right? That's all fine and dandy. But these butterflies that we tend to feel in our stomach when we meet someone does not mean or equate to alignment, does not mean respect, does not mean that this person is coming to promote you and elevate you, does not mean that this person understands what your path is. Sometimes we confuse these butterflies in our stomach and the excitement of meeting somebody new, the excitement of, oh, I love his energy. I love her energy. And he's so nice, and she's so cute, and she's so sexy, and he's so this and he's so that. That does not define alignment. That does not define alignment. And you need to know what your value and your worth is in order for you to understand what are the prerequisites that a person needs to match up to, in order for them to have access to you. Because if not, then that person, society, your community will continue to define you, will continue to tell you what you're worth, what you're valued. And guess what? Society, your community, people will never upgrade you. People will never really tell you what you are worth. Quite the contrary. They will demote you. Okay? They will demote you. They will, undervalue you, devalue you. They will never, ever, ever, ever define you for what you truly are worth. We hear words today, my soul family. We hear words and terminologies and terms from different spiritual healers and gurus and life coaches and what have you. And it all sounds great and dandy. And I'm not mocking anyone, and I'm not speaking about anyone specifically that comes to my mind, at least right now. But there are so many healers online these days, right? And especially in social media land, speaking about all these things that sound so nice and it rhymes and what have you, but we hear it so much that we fail to really understand the depths and the profound vibration of such terminologies. For example, your self-worth, we speak about self-worth all the time, and people speak about self-worth and self-value all the time. And people, write about self-worth, self-value all the time. Okay, está bien. But do we really understand what it really means? Oh, thank you, Tanya, for those badges. I appreciate you. Do we really understand what it means? Self-value, self-worth. We hear the terminology all the time, but do we really understand what it means? Because when we are defining what we are worth, we're not talking about money. Because there is no amount of money. There's absolutely no amount of money that can buy us. Or there shouldn't be, at least. Because we are invaluable. But when we talk about the spiritual context of our worth, of our self-value and worth, then that's major. And it's major because what you believe about yourself will determine your value. And your value then will set the tone for the kind of individual and people that you allow into your life. So Spirit tonight just simply wants to remind you of the importance of understanding what your self-value, your worth is, so that then you can truthfully sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what are my prerequisites? Because I repeat myself, many of you do not have clear knowledge, understanding of your prerequisites. And only when you understand what your prerequisites are in life, then you will know what your self-worth and self-value is. And that will determine who you will keep out of your life. So you're not overly exposed to narcissistic individuals, manipulative people, controlling people, people that devalue you, people that tell you that you're something that you're not, people that try to impose themselves on you, people that try to dictate what you should or should not do with your life. All that goes down when you don't know your worth, when you don't know your value, and ultimately when you don't have set prerequisites. And again, the definition of a prerequisite is that which needs to be in place, right? Or that is required as a prior condition in order for something else to take place. So I ask you, ladies, and this applies to men too, because we're not saying that this is just for women, but in the society in which we live in, and we've been living in for eons, in this patriarchal society, women usually tend to be at the losing end of the spectrum, right? But this is not just exclusive to women. This can also be very much valuable to men as well. The question tonight is, what are your prerequisites? Because as long as you don't understand what your prerequisites are, you will allow any kind of person into your life. And then they will dictate over you. And they will tell you what you should think and shouldn't think, and what you're worth and you're not worth, and what you should do and you shouldn't do, and how you should do this and how you should do that. They will run amok in your life. Spirit asks you tonight, what are your prerequisites? That which needs to be in place before someone can have access to you. So ladies, what are your prerequisites before you go on a date? What are your prerequisites before you invite someone that you feel all those butterflies about in your stomach? What are your prerequisites before you invite that person into the sanctuary of your home? What are your prerequisites before you decide to open your legs and go to bed with someone that you just met a month ago, 2 months ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe last night? Let's go there. What are your prerequisites before you call somebody your best friend just because you met that person at the party that you went to last week and you were having a bad day and she become your she became your friend, and now you claim to be your best friend. Why? Because it's a trauma bond. She was speaking the same trauma that you were experiencing. So therefore, trauma bonds are real. It's a whole different subject. I'm not going to go there tonight. But all of a sudden, you call this person your best friend. What are your prerequisites? Because more often than not, that person that you didn't establish your prerequisites with will become later on that individual that will steal your man, that will deceive you, that will use you, that will envy you, that will be jealous over your growth. If you have a friend that's always criticizing everything that you do and can never support your growth, that is not your best friend. That is your enemy. So therefore, you got to be very clear. And that's why Spirit speaks about the need for you to understand what are your prerequisites. You need to have an understanding of what those are. Before you allow someone into your life, before you go on a date, before you open your legs to a stranger, to someone that you don't know, just because you've known him for 3 months does not mean that you know him. There are people that live together for 20 years and they don't even know each other. So what are your prerequisites? So that you don't get re-traumatized again. So that you don't get re-abused again. So that this new person in your life does not do to you what your ex did to you. So that these people in your life does not do again to you what your mama and your daddy, sometimes grandmama and granddad, papa and everybody did to you when you were growing up. What are your prerequisites? Well, I don't know what my prerequisites are. Then you shouldn't be dating anybody. You shouldn't be opening your heart to anybody. You shouldn't be calling strangers your best friends. You shouldn't be going to religious houses and calling people madrina and padrino and tata and all this overnight. You don't even know who the hell they are. You don't know what their flaws are. You don't know how they deal with their. Listen, there's so much to say about this. I just needed to lay this in your heart tonight very quickly. What are your prerequisites? Because Spirit comes very heavy. And this is a lesson that we must learn throughout this year. So that the same bullshit that we've been experiencing for so many years in our life, doesn't get repeated again here in 2022. We are about to walk into our 3rd month of this year. Our 3rd month of this year. And many of you have not done shit yet. Many of you are still hanging around with the same bag of excuses. Many of you have the same complaints. Many of you are fighting the same people. Many of you are arguing with the same people. Many of you are having the same argument with the same family member. Many of you are remanifesting a new person with the same old habits that your ex had. This is why it's so important for you to understand what are your prerequisites. Look at what prerequisite means in the dictionary. Study that word and apply it to your life. So that then you can sit down with yourself at your spiritual altar or just by yourself in meditation or in prayer or walking, what have you, having your alone time with yourself. And you get to ask your spirit guides, your ancestors, God, and your inner spirit and your soul, what are my prerequisites? Because apparently I didn't have any That's why all this crap has been happening to me in my life. So what are my prerequisites? And if I don't know what those are, then I need to start doing the work so that I can start to know what my prerequisites are. And as I said at the beginning of this live, your prerequisites is based upon what your self-worth and self-value is. Not in terms of money, because we are invaluable. There's no amount of money that should be able to buy us. But we're talking about the moral value, the spiritual value, the intimate value, the energetic value. What is your self-worth and what is your self-value? That will determine your prerequisites. And those prerequisites will determine what kinds of people you allow into your vida, into your life. Because some of you are allowing people into your life that, oh my God. Some of you are allowing people into your life that if you were to really, really know your self-worth and your self-value, you would be able to sit back and look at the kind of crap, caca, mierda, you have allowed into your life. When you don't know your self-worth and your self-value, and when you don't have prerequisites, you're not protected, but you are exposed to being re-traumatized, re-abused, condemned, judged, controlled. You get told what you are. And where people tell you what you are is not what God says about you. It's not what Spirit says about you. Okay? Okay? So therefore, understand this. Your question tonight is, what are my prerequisites? Before I allow this person into my life, before I go out on a date with this person, before, I go on this dating site, before I, even professionally for entrepreneurs, business owners or employees, what are my prerequisites before I land in a job that abuses me, has me doing 6 different jobs and only paying me or underpaying me for one? Do you hear me? Does anyone hear me tonight? Does anyone hear me tonight? Because what Spirit is telling us tonight is, as long as we don't have clear understanding of what our prerequisites are, we will exhaust ourselves. We will exhaust ourselves. We will become tired. Our spirit keeps being sucked dry. We seem to not understand, well, why this happened to me and why that happened to me and who is this and then why is this person, think they can talk to me like that? Well, you don't know what your prerequisites are, because when you know what your prerequisites are, you will be able to look at someone, because this is really what I'm trying to say. You will be able to look at that person that you initially felt gooey butterflies because I just feel such a big connection with him. You don't feel no damn connection. That's probably a trauma bond. You don't feel no damn connection. That's probably your clitoris talking. You don't feel no damn connection. That is your dick speaking. Do you hear me? You don't feel no damn connection. That is that spirit of an ancestor, okay, that had a scarce mentality, that has you thinking that this job is the best job, when in reality they're sucking you dry and they will never promote you. Do you hear me? Okay? So therefore, you must understand what your prerequisites are. Okay? Because some of you young ladies, and older ladies too, and I don't mean older in age in terms of being 60 and 70. I'm talking about 30s and 40s and 50. And some of you men be wanting to cut your veins over someone that don't even know who the hell they are. Okay? Someone with such big complex issues, and then yet they still have you feeling small. They still have you feeling invisible. They still have you feeling like you can't live without them. I don't know what I would do. I don't know why he left. I don't know. You don't know yourself. That's what you don't know. You don't know yourself. Okay? And when you know yourself, you don't let yourself be lost in someone else's dark energy, dark shadow, unevolved vibration. Do you hear me? Queens and kings, do you hear me? Does anyone hear me in this live tonight? When you don't know yourself, you expose yourself to being told who you are by someone else. And that other person's opinion of you does not represent God's opinion of you, does not represent Spirit's opinion of you, does not represent your ancestors of wisdom's opinion of you. Do you hear me? You allow people to re-abuse you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again because you don't know yourself. You allow people to abuse you and treat you any kind of way and do with you whatever they want over and over and over again because you don't know yourself and you don't understand what your self-worth and your self-value is. Because maybe somewhere in your shadow, you were trained to think that you were less than. You were trained to think and believe that no one would really pay attention to you. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, my soul sister. Inner Sun Alchemy in the house. Blessings to you, my soul sister. The disrespect must stop. But only you have control over that treatment that you keep getting from people they can't even. Lord, I don't want to get ghetto and crazy on you all, but let me tell you, I don't understand. I read for so many people. And some specifically women. You know, some of you ladies come into these readings and I'm like, who the hell? What happened here? What happened here that you allowed your mind, your brain, to be so manipulated and watched and twisted and controlled by this person that can't even find his own dick? Are you serious? Are you serious? In the name of the baby black Jesus, are you serious? That only happens when you have no knowledge of who you are. When you don't understand what your boundaries are. When you don't even have a clear understanding of what your prerequisites are. You need to understand what your prerequisites are. So that then you can see someone, oh yeah, he looks hot. Oh yeah, he looks sexy, but there's something about him that it does not add up in my spirit. It does not add up in my spirit. You see, it's not the kind of car they drive. It's not the amount of money they have in the bank. It's not the appearance that's valuable. What I'm adding, the kind of addition that I make when I meet someone, it needs to resonate in my inner spirit. The right numbers need to add up in my inner spirit. When I don't have a healthy relationship with my inner spirit, then I am under the control of my unevolved ego. I can't even. I hope you're listening to me because I'm not even going to repeat myself. Okay? And if I have an unevolved ego, if I am under the control of my ego, I will let anyone run amok in my life. Especially, I said at the beginning of this live, and I'm not going to contradict myself because I do mean what I say and I say what I mean. This is not just for women. This is also for men as well. But let me tell you something, ladies. Women live in a world, in a society, where the patriarchal energy has taught you to devalue yourself. The patriarchal society and world in which we live in has taught you to not appreciate yourself. This patriarchal society has taught you, in subconsciously speaking, that you're less than. that you're not worthy, that you need to work 2 and 3 and 4 times as hard to obtain and have what men have. So it's not just the person you met last week. It's not the fucked up husband you married 15 or 20 years ago. It's not the so-called best friends that end up being betrayers and backstabbers. No, 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 no. Okay? It's as a society, the vibration of the world has already taught you, since you were a little girl, since you were crawling, has already taught you to stay in your place. And you can't do this. And you can't do that. And who do you think you are? And this is the role that you need to fit in. And this is what you are expected to do. So that conditioning already subconsciously puts you in a place to not understand what your self-worth and self-value is. Let alone when you are raised by a mother or grandmother who have been traumatized in her life by a man that conditioned her and tormented her and restricted her and clipped her wings. Then that became an addition to what society is already doing to you. This is why it's so difficult for women to understand what their self-worth and self-value is. Okay? In all honesty, Lord, baby black Jesus, I'm gonna get off because if not, I'm gonna run this into 2 hours and I don't want to. But let me tell you something. It's time. It's been long overdue. It's time for the vows, the what do you call them shit? I'm gonna call it the vows. Oh my God. Yeah, the vows, right? The vows, Lord, vows. Man, that's my Cubanism confusing my brain with my English. Those vows you take when you get married. I don't know who in the hell invented you shall obey. Obey who? Obey what? That needs to be stricken. That needs to be taken out. That needs to be wiped out. Because that in itself was a religious conditioning to make women stay restricted. Obey? What do you mean, obey? I need to obey another human being? Like I'm a dog? Like I'm an animal? Like I'm property? Like I have a problem with that. I always had a problem with that. And now that the older I get, the bigger of a problem I have with that. Because that right there was already the conditioning happening for eons. For millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of people around the world religiously, because religion has always been a conditioning institution. Especially the Abrahamic traditions, religions, has been, controlling and manipulating and alienating and devaluing women since my opinion, since the beginning of time. So this is about releasing that control, releasing all that restricts your inner spirit. All that, that doesn't allow you to be free. But let's stay on course here. The topic of this live is, what are your prerequisites? Because if you don't understand what your prerequisites are, you will allow anyone to come into your life to dictate over you and tell you who you are. And no matter what they say about you, and no matter what they say you are, they will never give you what God and Spirit and the Most High and Mother Earth and the universe thinks that you are. It will always be devalued. It will always be diminished. So don't get confused and don't get it twisted. Do a list this week. Sit with yourself. And you may write on the top of your list, what are my, entitle it, what are my prerequisites? And again, this is not just about romantic relationships and romantic partners. And this is about family, life, money, friendships, romance. This is every area of your life. What are my prerequisites? And if you come to a block and you don't understand what it are, nothing comes to your mind, you can't think of anything, sit with it, pray on it, or meditate on it, and come back to it again, 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 until you start to enumerate. What are your prerequisites? Before I go out on that date with that person, what are my prerequisites? Before I open my heart to this friend, what are my prerequisites? Before I allow myself to be in bed with this person, what are my prerequisites? You need to understand what your prerequisites are. And when you understand what those are, then you're able to go into any particular setting with a clear mind of what you will not settle for. You will not settle for anything less than what those prerequisites have already established. You need to understand what those are, baby. If not, someone else will put you on a leash and will control your heart, your mind, your life, your every aspect of you. And this is how you end up being exhausted, tired, depressed, angry, suicidal, confused. Let's break those chains of bondage. Let's break free from all these restrictive thoughts and behaviors and mentalities that I assure you, in some way, shape, or form, they were imposed upon you by someone else. Or you were trained to be like that since you were a small child. Let's break free so that you don't continue to be someone else's slave. Mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Let's cut that. Let's cut it. Let's cut it, because you deserve it. Okay? You deserve it. When you understand what your prerequisites are, you don't let anyone just treat you whichever way they want to treat you. You would be able to say, whoa. Who do you think you are talking to? Who do you think you are speaking to me in that manner? I am not your property. I may be your girlfriend, I may be your wife, but I am not your property. We might be friends for 20 years, but you don't get to talk to me in this manner. And I must add this. I hate to add this, but I must add this. This also goes for parents as well. Your mom and your dad. Just because they gave birth to you, it does not mean that they own you. And because they don't own you, they too don't get to talk to you in whichever manner they want to. You need to be able, without fear, you need to be able to place that boundary. So not even your own birthing parent can come around you speaking to you any kind of way they want just because they birthed you. You were never your parents' property. You are God's child. You belong to God. You don't belong to your parents. They were in charge of bringing you to this earth, but they don't belong. You don't belong to them. So you are not to even allow your own parent who birthed you into this world speak to you any kind of way, disrespect you, belittle you, and no. Go, as we say in Yoruba, means no. Okana, no. Adagbo, no. Just no. You can't. But you need to know what your prerequisites are. Malaikum salam. You need to know what your prerequisites are. So you don't let people, just any kind of person coming into your life. They may look good. They may sound good. They may appear to have what you think you want, but as long as you don't know what your prerequisites are, you might be confusing, as I said the other day, you might be confusing, actually last night in Tarot Tuesday, you could be confusing a zirconia for a diamond, and it ain't the same shit, okay? It ain't the same shit. So you need to be able to understand what your prerequisites are. I hope tonight's message was clear enough for you, for whomever needed to hear it. And take time. Take time to sit with yourself. And even, I must add this, even if you are what could be considered a good place in your life, right? You're not someone that has major issues and problems and trauma and everything is calm and you keep yourself protected and isolated from places and you don't go just anywhere. Even if you're living what could be considered a good, safe, and peaceful life, guess what, beloved? This message is also for you. Ask me why. Why? I'll tell you why. Because perhaps, even though you don't have major issues, even though you may not allow just any kind of person to come in around and disrespecting you, even though you maybe are happy with your job, even though you have a peaceful life, you could also be someone that has settled. You could be someone that perhaps might have settled. And because you have settled at the level that you're at, you're not allowing yourself permission to promote. You're not giving yourself permission to promote yourself to the next level of your life. So in your particular case, you must reevaluate, okay, your prerequisites, okay? You must reevaluate your prerequisites that might have met the standards of where you're at right now, but it may not be what's needed in order for you to continue growing. Because we should always be growing. We should never stop growing. Much love to each and every one of you. I love you. Have a great, great night. Over and out. Share this live, by the way. Blessings to you, Inner Sun Alchemy. Much love to you. I'm happy to hear that, Tanya. I'm happy to hear that. Blessings to all of you. Love you too. Good night.